Thanks, Chrissy. Look, it's a pleasure to be here. 12 months ago, I was here on the day as a potential nickel developer. On the day BHP announced it was shutting its nickel business. 12 months later, we're here as a successful gold explorer, and I'll take you through that story. So we think we offer low-risk exposure to gold. We are at St Ives. It's a pretty fabulous belt. It doesn't get a lot of attention, a lot of news. It sits inside Goldfields, other than our colleagues up the road at West Gold. You don't hear a lot about St Ives. It's a 15 million ounce camp. The gold space is a busy space. What sets us apart as a potential investment, we're active, we've got plenty of cash, $19.5 million. We've got some exciting high-grade gold results. I'll take you through that. We think we've made a discovery. Importantly, we're on granted mining leases. Again, it's just as important, it's in a very large camp, 15 million ounces. And because it is a large camp, we're surrounded by large gold mines, 1 million ounce gold mines. I'll show you that in a moment too. Just as we showed with our Baker discovery when we were wearing our nickel hat, because we're on granted mining leases, because we're surrounded by infrastructure, we can take things from discovery to fully permitted mines really quickly. We think the belt's underexplored because it's a nickel belt, and I'll show you that again in a moment. And we've also reached agreement with the RIU, which means our second renewal of a mining licence, which is a bit of a ticking time bomb for the WA resources sector, means that second renewal is secure at the end of the year. And we've got a little bit of nickel, 100,000 nickel tonnes, but I probably won't mention that today. So when you fly east to Melbourne and Sydney, you normally get a pretty good view of Lake Cowan in the foreground there, and Lake Lefroy in the background. You're flying over all of WA's great gold belts, and there is no better belt than the Kalgoorlie-St Ives belt along the Boulder Lefroy. Golden Mile Super Pit, order of magnitude 70 million ounces, St Ives 15 million ounces. In the fullness of time, it's going to be a 100 million ounce belt, and we are blessed to have 23 square kilometres right in the middle of the St Ives belt. Pertinently on that plan image, right to our immediate north is Goldfields plant, Lefroy plant. It's not at capacity. They're our major shareholder. They own 31% of Lunnon Metals. Big mines to the north and south, Victory Defiance, 3.5 million ounce camp, Argo, Polo, Hamlet, Athena, 3.5 million ounce camp. And those little gold stars, they're small gold mines, 10 to 20,000 ounces. That's been our focus most recently. And I'm going to take you through Lady Herial and Defiance West in particular. But we're in a pretty special spot because this was a nickel belt for WMC, because it was a nickel belt for WMC, Goldfields never really paid it much attention either. And we think that's a missing, and we think that's a massive opportunity. So we're going to zoom straight into Lady Herial. This is what we think is our first discovery. That's a shot looking southwest. The head frame is the Foster head frame. That's over an 800-metre deep shaft that services the nickel mine. The haul road, there's extensive infrastructure and haul roads, power, water, pipelines in the district. Lady Herial sits a few hundred metres off that haul road from the old nickel days. It was an area in the 1920s that was heavily mined by the prospectors back in that first gold rush in the St Ives area, and there is plenty of coarse gold. We put out some met results yesterday. We're seeing a lot of coarse gold. The prospectors love this area when they used to come on the ground in the 1980s, 1990s, 2000. So we're looking for small, modest things, near surface, high grade, but because we are at St Ives and it is such a fabulous camp, there's always the chance to get onto something big. This is a long section of Lady Herial. There's 3 structures, but most of the gold sits on the upper and the lower. It has some standout attributes that we really like. It outcrops. That's a pretty good one for starters. Where it does plunge, it's under only very shallow cover. We've got thick high-grade zones, 5, 10, 15 metres at good grade, above 2 grams, and also broad low-grade zones, 15, 30 metres at half, 1 gram, 1.5 grams. The metallurgy is excellent. We put that out yesterday, average 95% recovery. That all drives a great value proposition from low strip ratio pits. I've suggested we're surrounded by haul roads and infrastructure, and there are multiple plants in the district, not just the Lefroy plant at Goldfields. So the objective is pretty simple. We think this is economic. We kind of know it's economic. We're to define it further, optimise a pit, permit it hopefully by June, and then mine it in the second half of the year. So we've learned a lot at Lady Herial. Aaron, our exploration manager, and myself were on the gold side for WMC Resources and Goldfields for a long part of our professional career before we set up this private company that's now listed. And Lady Herial there on that left image actually sits on top of the nickel mine. So one thing that's happened during that journey is we've seen up the road Karora, the Canadian company, bought for over $1 billion by Westgold Resources, have been really successful looking in the immediate footwall of their nickel mine at Beta Hunt. So we took a lesson from that. We extrapolated our structures at Lady Herrill to the northeast, about half a kilometre. And the success, one of the founders of success at Beta Hunt with Westgold was a sediment called the Lunnon sediment. It's where they hit the fabulous Father's Day vein in 2018. 30,000 ounces, went from a $30 million company to a $300 million company overnight, never looked back. So we tracked Lady Herrill to the northeast, looking for that sediment. We hit the sediment where we thought the structures would intersect it. We hit broad low grade, 27 metres at half a gram. Importantly, we also hit narrow high grade, 1 metre at just around half an ounce. So we've demonstrated that our footwall at our nickel mine hosts gold. It's the same rock types, the same sediment that transformed Karora into the asset that Westgold coveted and paid over $1 billion for. So we're learning at Lady Herrill, we're extrapolating that, we're investigating that opportunity. Watch this space. There'll be further news on that Lunnon sediment Father's Day vein analogue in due course. But on the bigger picture, there's a lot more comparisons between Foster as an old nickel mine and the Beta Hunt nickel mine. Beta Hunt was a 1970s WMC mine, Foster was mined in the 1980s. Beta Hunt has been open ever since. It's always been accessible, whether it was in production or not. Foster shut in the mid-90s and has been inaccessible underground since that time. There was always lots of gold at Beta Hunt. Beta Hunt is the black coffin shape on the right-hand geology plan to the north of our project. It's about 10 square kilometres. We've got 23 square kilometres of the same geology. So there was always gold above the nickel at Beta Hunt, but the Canadians, Karora and now Westgold, are finding significant gold in the footwall of the nickel contact much, much later in the piece. We're now finding gold in the hanging wall of our nickel mine at Foster, and we're about to drill the very first bedrock drill holes in the footwall of our nickel mine, which you can see in that cross-section in a program co-sponsored by the government under their EIS program, and we're very grateful for the support of the West Australian government with that program. So that drilling started a couple of weeks ago. They're the first two deep, meaningful holes that sit between the nickel mine and that deposit on the right-hand side of that cross-section is the Conqueror deposit, sits on the Goldfield side of the tenement boundary. It's about 250,000 ounces sitting inside a 3 million ounce camp with absolutely no drilling between it and the nickel mine. So we think Foster can be a really direct analogue of what the Canadians and now Westgold are enjoying at Beta Hunt. Watch that space. It's a really exciting time. Those two drill holes, that first drill hole is about halfway down, and we're expecting hopefully big things from it. So 2025 is definitely all about gold. The first half of the year is about commercialising Lady Herrill. We'll drill it further, we'll model it, we'll optimise it, and then we'll talk to our major shareholder about getting it through the Lefroy plant. I mentioned Defiance West. Hopefully that could become the centrepiece of our gold program at Foster Baker. As I say, it's the first drill holes in a space that's never been drilled, and that always opens up opportunity. And we've guided the market that will aggressively step out and test our other programs, our other projects, Guiding Star and others. And that's to look to find the next 1, 2 or 3 Lady Herrills that could put significant cash in the bank. Second half of the year is about mining Lady Herrill, turning that prospect, that discovery into cash for our shareholders, aggressively pursuing the best of the rest of our portfolio from half one. And on the nickel front, it's a slow burn. There's really no basis or benefit to pushing the nickel in the current market. So the goal is to prudently continue to spend our great cash position, but with the goal of significantly increasing that cash position from success and funding ourselves from our gold open pit activities. Lastly, the nickel is real. We're surrounded by abundant infrastructure. We've got workshops, head frames I've already shown you. Baker is permitted, ready to go. Foster is permitted to enter and dewater. We're on granted mining licences. When the nickel times were good, we spent all the money we needed to, and that 3 million tonnes at 3% is the highest grade, highest quality nickel in the district. When the nickel sector sorts itself out, which it will do in due course, Baker and Foster will be a part of what transpires. So we get very little value for our gold, we get no value for a nickel. We think it's a great opportunity, low risk exposure. Please come and see us at booth 68 if you've got further questions. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you.